Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee and Football presented by BKCW. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Be sure to tell us where you're checking in from. Tell us what you're drinking this morning. Get your questions in. We're going to take a lot of those here in just a little bit. It's also 43 days away from kickoff, so be sure to tell us who your favorite number 43 is, and we'll revisit that one as well. But first, guys, y'all have been in SEC Media Days all week, and we've opened with that pretty much every day. But let's open with recruiting today. Jerry, I know you're expecting a big decision this weekend.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Corty had the comment, Cooper in football. Derek Cooper is the next announcement up. We'll see which way that goes. I think it's Texas or Miami. And I think Texas has been doing pretty well there. But we're going to watch Derek Cooper once again. Plays a lot of games on grass. This is on sport turf. This is at FIU, I believe, university there. But Derek Cooper's one of the top running backs in the country. I think he's a top 3 or 4 back in the country. I think some people have him underranked. I think some people have him closer to being ranked. When you watch his highlights, look, he's playing safety or linebacker too. He plays the whole game, so he plays until he cramps. But I think he's one of the top running back prospects in the country. Big time football player. There you see it all. I mean, he has size, he has speed, he can catch the football. You'll see some defensive highlights of him running around. He runs 10 in the 10.7s at 205 pounds. He's really good outside zone runner, but with more of a Cedric Baxter frame. So it's going to be a little more different looking frame, but he's going to weigh about 215, 220. We'll see what he does on Sunday around 4 p.m. East Coast time, I believe. Look, Texas is firmly in the top 10 classes in the country. They're another big recruiting win away, Bobby, from probably being right around 4 or 5, depending on the rankings. So we'll see what happens with Derek Cooper. But if Texas wins out, here we suddenly sit with a class that would be ranked around 4 or 5 or 6 to start the season.
Some people have asked us a little bit more about Derek Cooper, and they've questioned his speed. Don't do that. First of all, state qualifier in the 100, 200, and the long jump. So take speed off. They've questioned is he really that big? Yeah, he's 6'1", 205 right now.
I saw him in May. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing about Derek Cooper that we've got to find out is whether or not he's going to Texas.
Yeah.
That's the question mark. It's not whether or how good he is or what he is. Et cetera. It's, he led his team to a state championship last year, 1A. I look at it, Jerry, and, one of the things I want to talk about today at some point is Texas making this late run on guys like Tyler Atkinson, on guys like James Johnson, on guys like Derek Cooper. One of the things I heard down in Atlanta, and I want to get your feedback on this, is that, the Longhorns are just paying guys again. They're just going out there. And the reality of it is, don't forget the pain that Texas sat in when they saw Jalen Lott go somewhere else because Texas didn't spend as much money as Oregon. Don't forget the pain when Texas didn't match or go as high as Florida on Kendall Gerville. Don't forget the pain when Caden Finley was offered more by Notre Dame. And so Georgia's crying because they've been they got tweaked a little bit, obviously, on Tuesday. I think some other teams are worried that this is going, but the reality of it is Texas has to choose its spots. And Texas right now is choosing its spots. And one of the players they've chosen, frankly, is Derek Cooper. Yeah, Derek Cooper is a winner. You like that statement from Sarah McCoy?
Yeah, I love that statement from Sarah McCoy. Look, guys that'll play wherever they're needed to help win football games. Quandre Diggs did it. Jonah Williams did it. Those guys are winners. I mean, you look at Jalen Lott, even though he's not going to Texas, he does that for Panther Creek. Guys that just play whatever role their team needs them to do to help them win games. Because Chaminade Madonna, there you go, I said it. They're one of the smaller schools. It's a private school. They're one of the smaller schools in Florida. They play great competition now. I mean, Jeremiah Smith came out of there. A number of NFL guys. they play great competition, but they don't have as many players on their roster. So sometimes guys have to play both ways for them that can and are willing to. Those guys are winners that do it. I mean, Derek Cooper will do anything he can to help a team and win a football game.
I'm reading his stats real quick. I'm reading his stats from last year, Jerry, before you go to that next thing. Last year, 124 carries, 905 yards. That's 9.3 yards per carry, 13 touchdowns. And then on defense, just to give you a sample of what Jerry's talking about, 46 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 4 pass breakups, 4 sacks, 3 fumble recoveries, and 2 forced fumbles while blocking a pair of punts.
Yeah.
So it's not just.
He's a baller. He's a baller.
He played at Cardinal Gibbons, which is a bigger school in Fort Lauderdale, bigger private school down there. He played there in 2023 as a sophomore, 49 tackles, 4 interceptions, also played running back for them. So blue chip player, no doubt in my mind, Derek Cooper. And he will announce his decision on Sunday. Our Jerry Hamilton is going to be somewhere in the vicinity down there.
Well,
somewhere in the city.
I'm in the state. I crossed the state line going south yesterday. I stayed in Gainesville last night. Had dinner at Spurrier's Grill as normal when I'm going through Central Florida on the turnpike there. And then I'll make my way down to South Florida. Zane Petty asked, has Dia helped with Cooper and South Florida guys? Look, they have relationships, but I think that stuff is kind of overvalued being real in recruiting these days. NIL is above everything else. There's been look, Myron Charles had a great relationship with Kendall Gerville, or a good relationship. Didn't matter at the end of the day because Florida came with the Thunder. So, help. Yeah, I think that stuff is more minimized than it used to be in recruiting.
Yeah, but I certainly think that this is what's happened. If you think about what Texas is doing in South Florida, top quarterback, top defensive tackle, and top running back.
Yeah.
That's going into Miami's backyard and saying hello. So I feel pretty – I do think that there's something to be said about that, whether or not it is, one way or the other. I think that NIL certainly has a piece of it. But again, you have to pick your spots, and the players have to be receptive. It's not just a one-way piece there.
Hey, Buddy Pal, Big Chief guy, he has a pretty good, interesting comment here. Clemson won titles when they got elite defensive players in the Southeast. Then Georgia got them, started keeping more of them home from Nick Saban when Kirby got to Georgia and won titles. Texas is starting to get more of those players. I think that's a pretty astute comment. You look at Clemson's one of maybe the only team, Bobby, that won 2 national titles without high-level NFL drafted offensive linemen. And how did they do it? Well, they got 2 quarterbacks out of Georgia that went first picks of the draft, but they had a lot of those Southeast defensive players, saw a lot of those Southeast skill guys, especially in the state of Georgia. Then when Kirby came into Georgia, his number – I really believe this. One of the big reasons he was hired at Georgia was to keep Nick Saban from terrorizing the state of Georgia. And he was the one guy that Georgia could hire, being one of their own, that had worked under Nick for years and could help keep some of those guys home. And look, they both won big. Both those won big with a lot of those kids. And I think Texas is doing some great things in recruiting right now.
Speaking of great things, Bobby, tell everyone this morning about our sponsor, BKCW.
Yeah, absolutely. Our friends over at BKCW Business Insurance. If you or your company had a frustrating insurance or employee benefits renewal, most likely you didn't hear from your agent all year. And then right before it was time to renew, your agent delivered the bad news of a rate increase with no time to even look for other options. That's called the insurance trap. BKCW takes your business out of the insurance trap by providing you with actual risk management consulting, not just Price Quoting, operating out of their headquarters in Austin and owned by a UT grad, BKCW uses a 5-step process to identify your business's weak spots, design a plan, execute it, and monitor your situation throughout the year so that you can lower your insurance costs and effectively manage your company's risk and employee benefits. BKCW has risk consultants that specialize in many different industries, from construction and transportation companies to nonprofits, school districts, restaurant groups. You'll get matched up with someone who knows your risks and can help you escape the insurance trap. Get started with a free risk assessment at bkcw.com or send an email to info@bkcw to get started and get the support you deserve. That's 512-250-5055 or info@bkcw.com.
Thank you, Bobby. And all right, guys, dust is settled as far as SEC Media Days goes. Y'all were there listening to Sark and the players, everyone else, obviously. But let's kind of back up a little bit and talk about what were your main takeaways, from the week, and more specifically as far as Texas goes.
I thought, one of my things is everybody talks about, obviously it was Arch Manning Day. They talked about what Anthony Hill had to say. They talked about what Michael Taft had to say and what great representatives they are for the University of Texas. One of my favorite things about media days like this, when they bring the experienced players or their captains in, well, what young players do they single out? That's all. And I asked one of those questions in the media scrums, but I always want to hear, because those guys are kind of the stewards of the program, right, Bobby? They mentioned who? Grayson Littleton. Arch has mentioned the receivers. He's mentioned James Simon at different times. You heard some Jonah Williams from Michael Taft. He's talking about how he's a freak athlete. He's 6'3", 6'4", 205, 210 pounds, and runs like the wind. You heard Anthony Hill single out Elijah Barnes as a young linebacker, some of those defensive linemen, a couple of transfers as well. Those are kind of newcomers. Murata Watson got mentioned. Brad Spence got mentioned. So that's kind of outside of what the national media talks about. But from a Texas coverage standpoint, what are the younger guys, the newcomers that are impressing three of the leaders of this program? Those are big takeaways from me in those settings.
Yeah, they are. And I would say from a Texas perspective, Arch said they're a young team. He called it that. But at the same time, Steve Sarkisian, for the first time, said, look, we have a championship roster.
Yeah.
And so how do those two things mix? It mixes when you have elite recruiting class after elite recruiting class. When you have Arch Manning at the helm, and when Steve Sarkisian has what seems to me, frankly, Jerry, and you know this, a hell of a lot of confidence in Arch Manning. When he starts saying he is him type of comments about Arch Manning, then I don't know what else to tell you guys other than there's a lot of confidence behind the scenes. They are a little young, so we'll see how they handle going to Columbus. We'll see how they gel maybe as a team over the course of a season. I think you can expect Arch Manning to have problems with the blitz early maybe, and then get better as the season goes on, right? I mean, things like that, I think he's going to get better over time. But that, from a Texas perspective, those were my main takeaways. They're still young, they think. At the same time, Sark says they have a championship roster. So we'll see. Overall,
I want to say this, Bobby. I think every team in college football is a little younger this year because the COVID guys are all gone. Yeah. I think everybody lost some of that experience in college football last year. So I just want to continue to point that out as we head into the season, because I do think that's kind of something to talk about as we head into the season.
Oh, I think that's fair. The other piece that I would say, just from the SEC media meetings as a whole, newfound respect of sorts for the University of Texas, in my opinion. Did not have that and did not feel that last year at all. Now, Texas is considered one of the favorites in the league. They are one of the most talented rosters in the league. People can see that and feel that. They no longer doubt Texas. They wonder if they're going to be able to win and win big still because, they got to the championship game but did not win that. But they did go toe-to-toe with Georgia in that game and made it to the national semifinals. So I think, at least from my standpoint, Blake and Jerry, I really believe that there's a newfound respect of Texas across the league. That was one of my big takeaways. And then my other takeaways with that, some teams like A&M yesterday. Like, I wasn't there for this, but John Burroughs was. And, some of their guys just say things that just, why would you go there? Why would you say that we're not worried about Texas and name Anthony? Why would you do that? Some guys
it worked so well the first time.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. It's like, why would you even go there? It's like they don't do any. And I'm not saying Texas does this great media training. I don't even know how much media training Texas does. But going there and saying things, it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. You don't go there to put bulletin board material up for the team that you're going to play in 3 months. So I think some teams do it right and some teams just don't understand and perhaps may never. That's my opinion.
Nate's takes, or we're moving so fast. How empty was the venue by the last day? Well, I wasn't there and Bobby wasn't there and CJ Vogel wasn't there. I don't know. It had to be a lot emptier because
I've got a picture of it.
There.
I've got a picture of it. Hold on a second. If I can send this to Blake. This is when the Aggies, Blake, I'm sending it to you right now because I asked our guy to send me a pic of when Elko was at the mic yesterday. And it was indeed, Jerry, compared. There were fewer people in the auditorium that day, or I guess you wouldn't want to call it an auditorium, in the arena that day than we're at Arch Manning's scrum individually.
Oh, yeah.
2 days earlier.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say to you. A&M went last overall, so that's normal. Anybody that goes last, you're going to get people checking out early because 15 teams before you have gone. So some of that is just normal.
And it was the other schools that day. And there you
go.
Look at Barry Trammell asking a question there.
I love Barry Trammell.
We'll have him back. I talked to him. We'll have him back on the show soon to talk some Texas OU. But look, it's also why we have fun with it. But Missouri, not a big following. Arkansas, not going to be a big meaty following. So who else was there that day? One thing maybe the SEC needs to look at is, do you have a Texas or Alabama or Georgia on that Thursday to keep more of the media people there? I don't know. Just something maybe to look at.
It's like Florida, LSU, one of the bigger teams.
Yeah. Sorry, A&M. You're not keeping all the national media there currently.
All right, guys, moving on here this morning. One thing I wanted to bring up, CBS actually came out with quarterback rankings in the SEC, and I thought we would take a look at that, kind of get y'all's thoughts, what they got wrong, what they got right, and what you would change. And we're going to start here with the first 8. Now, they have Garrett Nussmeier at number 1 from LSU, Arch Manning, obviously, at 2, Lenora Sellers from South Carolina at 3, Mateer 4. Lagway rounds out your top 5, followed by Diego Pavea, Taylon Green, and Julian Simmons at 6, 7, and 8. So let's start with that top half.
Yeah, look, it's going to be fun. This is what's going to be fun this year for me. You could argue that Lenora Sellers may be the best college football player of this group, but is he going to have the talent around him that Nussmeier and Arch and Lagway and even Mateer are going to have around them as far as running backs and skill guys? Probably not. And this is one of the things we talked about, or I mentioned on one of the shows. If Sellers ends up number 1 on this list, he may have won the Heisman because that means they probably made the playoffs and he just carried a team on his back because they don't have the talent that LSU, Texas, Florida, and even Oklahoma have on offense around their quarterback. I think it was something big, Bobby. Second-year starters, Nussmeier, Sellers, Lagway, Pavia, Mateer,
Even if at
Pavia,
a new
second-year SEC starter, Talon Green, second-year SEC starter. Then you have Arch Manning and Simmons, first-year starting. Which of those second-year guys is going to make the big jump? Somebody's going to. Either Nussmeier, Sellers, Lagway, if Lagway can stay healthy. I think one of those three guys, year two starting in the SEC, is going to make a big jump. And I do think that might have cause big change on this list. And then how does Manning do in year one as a starter, and how does Mateer do as a starter of an SEC football team?
You know, when I go to I did my top 10 ranking or my top 8 rankings just of those players. I didn't consider anybody else that wasn't in that top 8. You know, I always look for guys that have superpowers.
Yeah.
Like Vince Young had a superpower as a runner. He was a functional passer, but he had a superpower. Well, who has superpowers in that list? I think Lenore Sellers does as a runner.
Yes.
And just how physically he is. I think Arch Manning does as a thrower. I think Derek Lagway does as a deep ball thrower. I think Pavia kind of does as a runner / leader. Is Nussmeier as good a thrower of the football that's his superpower? I don't know. And I haven't seen enough of Mateer. And I don't think I think Green's probably an NFL quarterback at some level. I don't think he's a dude. Justin Simmons at Ole Miss is a newcomer that they like a lot. I mean, we actually heard a lot about him, kind of buzzy around the SEC media days, but I don't know. Texas won't see him, so we won't necessarily know.
Right.
Austin Simmons.
It's Austin Simmons. And yeah, look, the one thing about Austin Simmons that has to be said, Lane Kiffin could have gone to the portal to get a quarterback, and he chose not to. That tells you how much he likes Austin Simmons. Now, whether that's going to translate in year one or not, we'll see. But that is saying a lot, because Ole Miss could have gone out and got a starting quarterback with experience, and that Kiffin didn't. Maybe that's going to end up being telling at the end of the day. And I have a new nickname for Lenore Sellers. It's Lenoris Newton. Let's see what happens with that. I think he might. I think he might. When he walked by us at SEC meetings, he's like 6'5", 6'6", like Cam, Vince were. But I mean, his 6'3", 235 is woof, man.
Broad-shouldered, man. He is broad-shouldered.
I swear I swear there were muscles coming out of his suit.
Yes.
He's just that guy's put together.
All right, let's look at 9 through 16, excuse me. 9, Ty Simpson from Alabama, Gunnar Stockton from Georgia rounds out the top 10, followed by Blake Shapen at Mississippi State, Jackson Arnold at Auburn, Marcel Reed at A&M comes in at 13, Bo Prabula from Missouri at 14, Joey Aguilar at Tennessee at 15, and last but not least, Zach Calzada at Kentucky is the 16th ranked quarterback.
One of the takeaways for me was Calzada was an A&M signee. This is his third school. Marcel Reed. If Marcel Reed, like I know Mike Elko said, hey, 12, 13 NFL draft picks on this team. But if Marcel Reed's a bottom third quarterback in the SEC after this year, I'm not sure how much it's going to matter for A&M. Jackson Arnold better be better than that, else he will get benched, and they'll go to Deuce Knight, as Hugh Freeze will try to do that to save his job, kind of like Billy Napier did with Lagway last year. They love the freshman. Gunnar Stockton, if he's the 10th best quarterback in the SEC, Georgia will not play in the SEC championship game. And Ty Simpson, could he have a better season with DeBoer, because he maybe fits his system better than Jalen Milroe? If that is the case, and their whole offensive playbook from a passing standpoint is opened up for DeBoer and Grubbs, Alabama may have a really good year. But we'll see. Simpson's never started.
Look, if you ask me who I would take, Jackson Arnold or Marcel Reed, Jackson Arnold or Bo Prabula, I would take Reed and Prubula over Jackson Arnold. So I don't understand what about Jackson Arnold last year would lead you to believe that he's good?
Yeah.
Is there anything? I mean, he cratered under pressure and didn't throw the ball accurately. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and I'm not trying to. But I just like
it's interesting, Bobby. Because Cam Coleman, he's got a first-round pick potentially at wide receivers who can area code a football, right?
Jackson Arnold is not a better like Jackson Arnold and Gunnar Stockton are somewhat similar, but Gunnar Stockton showed a capacity to have wits about him when things break down.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm just wrong, and I think Hugh Freeze is going to be out at Auburn. I think if they go in this direction, that's what I think.
Look, Jackson Arnold was a one-read quarterback coming out of high school. I talked to a team that beat him and beat them in the playoffs, and they were like, we took his first read away, and it was over at that point for them. How much is he going to progress as a quarterback here in his second year as a starter in SEC football? He's going to have to progress a lot, because if he's still closer to one read than he is a full scanner of the field, he will get benched for Deuce Knight. Because Freeze will have to try to save his job.
I think Bo Prubula, the Missouri quarterback who transferred from Penn State, is going to be better than that. I think he's a better version of Gunnar Stockton. So that's my opinion. More athletic, a little bit better passer. Now he's playing for Mizzou, so they have to see if they can handle pressure from other teams, et cetera, and put him in a good position. But I think he's actually really talented.
Okay, we got some more rankings to look at. But first, Jerry, I'm going to let you tell everyone about one of our other sponsors this morning, Ridge Wallet.
Yeah, Kirby Smart needs one of these. Sark picked the pocket this week. Tell Ridge Wallet. Remember the giant crusty leather brick that was falling apart? Did your back hurt? I was made this 8-hour drive from Atlanta yesterday. I thought about Ridge Wallet. I was like, if I had the old crusty wallet in the back of my pocket driving down the road, I'd be like leaning one way and my back would be sore. That's one reason to get Ridge Wallet right there. Their unique, slim, modern design that holds up to 12 cards plus cash, made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber, with over 50 colors and styles to choose from. That burnt orange leather one's a good leather look, is a good one. All Ridge products have a lifetime warranty. This is literally the last wallet you'll ever have to buy. Does it give you peace of mind, though, in that all Ridge wallets have RFID blocking technology, keeping you safe from digital pickpocketers or your wife? Over 100,000 5-star reviews on Ridge Wallet right now. And again, losing your wallet's the worst, but with the Ridge AirTag attachment, you'll always know exactly where it is before panic mode kicks in. Ridge isn't just about wallets. They create premium everyday carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, and rings, all built with the same sleek, durable design. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off at Ridge by using the code ONTexas, all caps, at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use that code ONTexas, all caps, and you are all set. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. You know the answer.
Look at the new Ridge Wallet. How about that?
That's a strong one.
I also found Joe Z's wallet, Jerry.
Oh, Josie. Oh, Josie's not here to take up for himself.
But they have released a collegiate line, so there you go.
That's cool.
That? Very cool. A great time to go there and use promo code ONTexas and shop at Ridge Wallet. All right, guys. Well, as I said, we do have more rankings that we're going to look at this morning. PFF came out with their top 10 college football defenses, and Texas high up on that list. We'll take the first 5 here. Alabama, number 1. Texas, number 2. Clemson, 3. Georgia, 4. Penn State, 5.
Look, Jerry, best LB unit and secondary. Jerry's smiling because people are finally on your bandwagon, buddy.
Yeah, that's what it is. Look, Alabama defensively is interesting because they have some really good young kids too that were recruited in that last Nick Saban class that stuck around. And Quay Russo, Tim Smith, some of those guys, they're front 7 guys. LT Overton, A&M transfer, part of the greatest recruiting class that never was. He reclassed and was in that A&M 22 class. He's a pro. They got some big over the ball players at Alabama, big over the ball players, as you would expect, the holdovers from Nick Saban. At Texas, look, secondary, I don't know if that's the best unit going into the year, though, Bobby. They lost a lot. I mean, you lost a lot with Makuba and Jahdae Barron. I think Texas has really good depth, and I think some of that's going to have to kind of prove out. But I'm not sure Texas secondary is going to look like the best in the country week 1 against Ohio State. That's one of my takeaways from Texas. I think the linebacker units is just tremendous, and I think the defensive line as a whole is going to be underrated because I think Texas has really good depth and rotation there this year, and I think that matters a lot. Again, I've said it many times. I'm a broken record. We'll see what Allen is, if he's a miracle worker for the Clemson defense. If he makes a big change in that defense, then they have a lot of talent there. Georgia's got to have the young defensive lineman come through for them, and Christian Miller needs to play like a first or second rounder because they lost way too many defensive linemen off that team. And then you lose Jalen Walker, Malachi Starks. They lost great football players up the middle of that defense. So those young guys on the defensive front and in the secondary are really going to have to come through for Georgia.
I'll just say this: Clemson's not number 3 best defense in the country.
No way they can't be. They would give that 400 yards rushing if Cam Williams didn't get hurt.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like the other ones, I think Penn State's probably as good or better than their ranking, for example.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? So we'll see how it goes. Oregon is expected to have a good defense this year. I think Ohio State will always have a good defense as well. And these rankings and by the way, I'm going to talk to Phil Steele tomorrow morning for our Saturday conversation. I'm going to ask him a little bit about some of these rankings because I think my worry right now is to Jerry's point, there's just so much prognostication about new players or reliant on old players. My question for all of these guys that do these national lists, are you really like Texas in this list? Texas lists notable players 3. Okay. Anthony Hill, Colin Simmons, Malik Muhammad. Really, there are 2 disruptors that are high-level disruptors on this team, and that's Hill and Simmons. That doesn't mean Brad Spence or Trey Moore or Ethan Burke or Malik Muhammad, Manny Muhammad aren't good players. But, I mean, Christian Miller for Georgia and C.J. Allen for Georgia are terrific players. And I just don't know that people put enough emphasis on those types of players when they're doing these lists. They're treating all Americans the same when Colin Simmons has probably one peer right now, and that's Dylan Stewart at South Carolina. You know what I mean by that, Jerry? And so I just wonder how some people do these lists. It's like sometimes it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, there could be a chasm between 2 and 5, or between 2 and 3. And so Notre Dame should be top 5.
Zach Williams, I'm not sure I disagree with that. Marcus Freeman's going to play really good defense. The freshman edge kid was an absolute stud last year. They're always going to play really good defense under Marcus Freeman, and they're going to evaluate well, and I think they're going to develop well under him. He's a problem in college football for people.
Notre Dame is actually 6.
Okay, there we go.
Followed by Oregon at 7. Ohio
They don't
State
even have their
8.
best player on there. They don't even have their best NFL prospect on there. I mean, the freshman edge kid was an absolute stud for Notre Dame. Absolute stud. He is going to be a first-round draft pick. I just don't think there's any doubt about that. And he's going into year 2. Bryant Young's son. He's going to – I know he had 23 tackles and a sack and a half, but he really flashed late in the year. He's going to have a big year for them. And they lost some interior guys, but look, under Marcus Freeman, they're going to be really good on defense every year. Oregon, I think they did well in the portal.
Yeah, at Texas Tech, it doesn't even mention the young man from Stanford that's their best defensive player.
And the D-tackle from UCF.
Am I the only one that I think Torian York's way overrated? I've said that. I think he gets caught up in the wash and he's short-armed. But anyways, that's me. Cassius
I
Howell.
think very good player. Yeah, very good player.
Well, let's jump into some questions this morning. We got a lot of those. We got some super chats as well. Let's start with the super chat from Juan Garza. Thank you, Juan. He says, Sark has a Nick Saban recruiting strategy with a Pete Carroll mindset. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I was in the middle of what was going on when Pete Carroll, I think, had 5 number 1 classes in a row. I mean, that's when I was overseeing the Rivals rankings. Pete Carroll is one of the, like, before Nick Saban was always a good recruiter, so don't get me wrong. But Pete Carroll was at the sexy school at USC, and he was going nationwide, and he was killing it, man. Absolutely killing it. I do think that there's probably a mix for Steve Sarkisian. Some of the I do think that Sark is more of has taken more of his role and mentorship from Pete Carroll than Nick Saban. I'm gonna say that because it happened. It invariably happens this way because he met Pete Carroll much earlier in his career, right? I mean, he met him 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I mean, as you get older, you learn from people, but they're not necessarily your mentors. And I don't know if you would call Pete Carroll Steve Sarkisian mentor, but he certainly was phenomenal at recruiting. And I thought he did a good job of separating good, highly ranked players from actually effective, highly ranked players. Both Pete Carroll and Nick Saban did that, in my opinion. And that's a commonality. They weren't just recruiting the highly ranked players. They were recruiting the highly ranked players that went on to be really effective players. And Sark and Brandon Harris and those guys, I think, have continued to do that at Texas. And so when you get a 5-star at Texas, most times you're really getting a true 5-star, which brings me to another topic I want to talk about sometime today, Jerry, and that's your visit over to Tyler Atkinson's.
Yeah, I want to say this on Pete Carroll. I think he'd be unbelievably scary in recruiting in today's day and age with NIL and social media. I mean, his nickname was High School Harry. Like, his recruiting style, his pitch, the way he handled being the head coach at USC, bringing all Snoop Dogg and everybody around there, he would have been unbelievable in NIL and social media today. Unbelievable. Probably good for everybody in college football. He's past his age limit on that.
Our next super chat this morning from Tex Fan. Thank you, Tex Fan. Can you all talk about the Ohio State quarterback rundown? A new offensive coordinator is rough for a new starting quarterback to run the offense efficiently against elite defenses.
Jerry, you start because you know Julian Sayinmore from high school. He was a Carlsbad, California kid that actually visited Texas and was thinking about Texas until Texas got Arch Manning.
Yeah.
And then he initially signed with Alabama. Kalen DeBoer got the job at Alabama. He transferred to Ohio State. But tell folks a little bit about who Julian Sayin is, because I think he's the starter there.
Yeah. Hey, Tex Fan, that's actually a really good point on Julian Sayin. Look, he was an extremely accurate guy coming out of high school down in the San Diego area. I think that is his strength. And I think that's ultimately what will lead him to winning that job is accurate. When you have 3 NFL wide receivers, their accuracy is what matters, timing and accuracy. Just get the ball to those guys and let them do their thing. What's interesting about, and I think he's a functional athlete. He's not a dual threat guy by any means. He's a functional athlete at the position. What your point, though, is interesting because in year 1 at Ohio State, he is working under Chip Kelly. So now he goes through an OC change in the spring. So his first year from a scheme standpoint and teaching standpoint, maybe somewhat of a wash for him. So spring was big. He's getting to know his new OC. Now this fall camp is going to be really big for him because he doesn't, look, that is one difference. That is one thing Arch Manning has going for him at Texas in year 1 as a starter. He's been with Sark and Milwee, the same scheme, the same system, everybody around him in meetings, Kyle Flood, Chris Jackson, everything's been the same for him since he got to Texas. There is some change with Julian saying there, and it's that change has come after it was his learning year, head into his first year as a starter. But if you're talking about his talent level in high school, extremely accurate with the football. I think he's got timing and accuracy, and I think that's what's going to lead him to win the job, because that's what you need with the guys he's done throwing it to.
Their offensive line, you look at that offensive line, Jerry, 5 red shirts.
Yeah.
Either junior or senior, 1 sophomore red shirt. They've got an older group, even though it's a new group.
Very similar to Texas. Very similar to Texas, right, Bobby? Guys that have been in their system for multiple years, but maybe don't have 30 starts under the belt at some places, but very similar to Texas. They lost 4 out of 5 starters. They actually lost 5 when you consider Josh Simmons was hurt early in the year. But those guys that were backups last year, they've been in the system, or they've been in the university. Now, the offensive, again, changed from the staff, but they've been in the Ohio State system. They've been in the strength and conditioning program. They've been in the program for multiple years. So very similar to Texas. Let's see which ones are better. Tegra Chabot at right guard, I think, has a real chance for them, by the way.
Hey, Jerry, James Peoples, San Antonio native, is their starting running back. But CJ Donaldson, the West Virginia transfer, really heavy runner. Texas has seen him before. What is Texas going to see in James Peoples, in your opinion?
First of all, anybody that beats out Bo Jackson's a great player. Joking. Bo Jackson's the freshman third-team running back. So anybody that beats out Bo Jackson, I'm giving you a tip of the hat. But look, James People, I think, is an instinctive guy. I went to see him in high school when Texas was recruiting him. I think he's an instinctive back. He's got a compact body. He's not necessarily going to run away from people, but I think what he's going to do is, and I'm not comparing him, but I think there's some similarities, because I think Christian Clark's more violent and is a bigger frame maybe, but I think there's some similarities in their ability to see cut and make some downhill plays, maximize some runs in that 0 to 15-yard range with vision, with patience, with the ability to cut, backside vision. I think he's got all those. We'll see if he holds off CJ Donaldson. CJ Donaldson, I think, is a really good fit around the wide receiver core at Ohio State.
Okay, let's get to our next super chat this morning, and it is from C-Mac Tex Horn. Thank you for your super chat. He says, do you think it's odd that OU was the only school to have a GM attend media days and do interviews? I can't imagine that Venables was on board with that, he says.
I didn't even notice that. Did you notice that, Jerry?
I saw it. I didn't notice it at the time.
Didn't even think about it. What do you think?
Did he interview somebody? Did he interview somebody in the Omni? Did him and Eli Drinkwitz have dinner together?
That is kind of crazy. Like, that's a flip. That's going in a different direction. That's zigging when the other teams zag. Could pay. Hey, maybe it could pay dividends. And this is the greatest thing that anybody's ever done in college football. My guess is it's not. That is crazy, though, Jerry. I didn't even think about that. Now, he did not go to the main speaker microphone.
Correct.
But, I mean, it brings about the question is he the real coach at OU right now? Because it's definitely odd.
Because recruiting has definitely changed.
Recruiting's definitely changed, so I'm fine with that. But, man,
well,
if he's just in charge of your personnel, why is he if he's just in charge of your personnel, why is he at media days? He's not in charge of the team. SEC media days is supposed to be about the team.
Yeah. But, yeah, to my point is you said Chad is Nagy really head coach of the team, but He's definitely the decision maker. His recruiting has changed too much since he got there. He's the decision maker. There is no doubt about it. It's interesting.
I hadn't even thought about it because we were so busy doing other stuff when we were there. But that is really, really odd. It'll either work or it'll backfire. We'll see. I mean, here's the other issue. You know, you start building a team like that and you go out and get a new coach. What new coach can you get that's going to want to work with an existing GM? So if Brent Venables gets fired, I'm not saying he's going to. I'm not predicting it because I think he has a good defense this year. I really do. And I think he's going to be more functional on offense. I don't know how much that'll lead to more wins, but if he were to get fired, who's going to take the job knowing that they have no control over personnel? I mean, who's going to take? It's going to have to be some young whippersnapper or some NFL retread,
or somebody he has a great relationship.
Nobody that currently has control over their own roster is going to go to some place where they don't have control over their roster.
Right. I would say the scenario for that would be somebody he's really close to. If this happens, and they do it together. There's more of a togetherness. Who's that coach, if Oklahoma opens, that Jim Nagy is really close with? That's going to be your answer on who the next Sooners head coach is.
That's gross. And because you're limiting yourself.
Yep.
You're limiting yourself to who Jim okay. So be it. So be it. Beamer, I don't think Beamer would take that if somebody else was overseeing personnel. Beamer loves recruiting. That's like his if there is a superpower or a strong thing that Beamer is good at, it is recruiting. So I don't think he takes OU if Nagy is even equal to him.
And by the way,
much less his boss.
And by the way, he isn't taking that job as long as Lenore Sellers is in South Carolina. Now, maybe Lenore rises up and he's asked for redshirt sophomore year, goes pro this year. Well, then that changes the game. But I agree with you. But he's not leaving as long as Sellers is his quarterback because he may not have one like that again.
Thanks for bringing that topic up, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
I didn't even think about it. I was just so, laser focused on what we had going on with Texas.
Well, speaking of Texas, we're going to get back to some Texas-related questions. But first, a word from one of our sponsors, Advanced Pain.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
I want to thank them for sponsoring. And we have a super chat from Jay Lee. I want to thank you as well. He says, with as hard as Arch throws the ball and some new wide receivers, do you think that we'll have a lot of drops this year? He says that he can see a bunch of tip ball interceptions.
I think you can see a little bit of that. He does throw the ball with a lot more pace, I think, particularly on in the short passing game than Quinn. Quinn loved to feather the ball, and kind of lead the guy. We'll see. I think it could lead to more interceptions, period, because I think Arch is going to be a little bit more willing to test people. That's my opinion. I think that Arch is going to be a little bit more willing to go after that, the tougher throws. But I'm not real worried about drops in Texas. Look, I've heard Emmett Mosley has tremendous hands.
Yeah.
Not good hands, but tremendous hands. I know Ryan Wingo does. I know
he's getting a little bit of the Matthew Golden. Emmett Mosley is getting a little bit of the Matthew Golden behind the scenes.
Yeah. I don't know if he's going to be that good, but definitely, they feel they're really happy.
Yeah.
Parker Livingstone, really good catcher of the football, natural catcher of the football.
I would say this on the interceptions part. I think I'm not worried about that with Arch. Arch, any young quarterback that drives the ball down the field, it's the late, deep, and the deep, late, and late middle throws. That's where a young quarterback that drives the ball down the field, a lot of their interceptions come from, especially if they're under duress, because they're still going to throw the ball down the field under duress. And that is any young quarterback. That presses the ball down the field. That's the biggest thing that they have to work through. And it's not just an Arch thing. It's going to be in every quarterback thing that has that skill set. That's where I think his interceptions could come from early in first half or first year starting.
We have a super chat from the Loin Girder. Thank you, Loin Girder. He says, thank you to the OTF team for the great coverage and hard work, especially John Burroughs for triggering the Aggies. I noticed that you have Chris Stewart as a 5-star on the site. Is he that good, or am I reading that wrong? And
I think you're reading that wrong. We have him as a 4-star.
I was about to say, I'm looking that up at the moment, though, just to make sure that there's no glitch.
Could have been a typo in an article that I didn't catch, but he's a 4-star for us.
So,
yeah, John's question yesterday, what's the lineman's name for A&M that came to media day?
Reed, Amari Reed, the guy that's going to be a first-round, second-round pick.
Yeah, John asked him about Texas, and he basically said, "Oh, we don't worry about those guys. You know, the game last year proved that we could beat anybody in the SEC because we were right there with them to the very end. Maybe so. Didn't score an offensive point, and you're an offensive lineman, but yeah, maybe so. You were right there with them. I don't know what to tell you. Texas was on the inside the 10 and gave the ball away twice. Okay, in the third quarter, right? It could have been 24-0. But anyways,
I'm looking for a lampshade. I'm in a hotel. I don't.
yeah, please find one.
Look at that gray hair on the back of Jerry Hamilton. Look at that gray hair.
You need a haircut, Jerry. I need a haircut, but you need a haircut. All right, Bruce Knowles here. And Bruce, I hope this is your super chat. If it's not, then let me know and I will fix this for you. But the way that the question came in, I believe this is it. And thank you for your very generous super chat. He says, thank you for the way that you run OTF. The use of bad language and innuendos is carefully monitored as you remember the audience you have listening. Thank you for the great coverage. God bless and hook 'em.
Thanks, Bruce. We do try to limit that sort of stuff because we know there's a fine line, and we try to walk it. And so, thank you for noticing that and appreciating that. Jerry did not get a lampshade for you though, Bruce.
Look, by the way, I had zero gray hairs until the last offensive possession against Ohio State last year. Literally happened overnight. I woke up the next day and said, "Holy heck!" There it is.
Oh man! All right, let's get to some more questions this morning. And thank you again, Bruce. Really do appreciate that. From Antoine, he says, "What's the projection for Zena and Melvin Hills this year?"
Zena definitely got a lot of mention prior to him having a hand injury this spring. Like I think those guys are on two different plateaus right now. Like Zena, I think Texas is expecting something from him this year. Like the expectations levels, maybe he's a second, third team guy that gets reps. Hills is going to be a fourth team guy this year. Was that? I just saw you shake your head. Yes,
yeah,
Jerry.
Yeah,
you agree with that kind of.
Yeah, I think let's see where the competition is on that defensive line, but that's what I would suspect. And again, any of the guys entering year two at any positions at Texas, they have to hold off kids from the number 1 ranked class in the country. If Melvin Hills is able to hold off Myron Charles, then he's got a chance to be a good rotational player. If he can't hold off on Myron Charles, then it's going to be tough.
That's just I'm just telling you, that's how they're recruiting.
Yeah.
How they're recruiting right now.
All right. And we have a super chat from Juan Garza. Thank you, Juan, again. He says, what are you all thinking of the Saban rumors? And do you think that he could take the USC job or LSU if open or go to the NFL? And I believe his daughter weighed in on this as well, but I'll let y'all answer.
He came back and said no.
Yeah. I think that's what his daughter said.
Yeah.
She was like,
Saban himself said no chance.
Yeah, no. I look, unless he runs out of Titleist Pro Vs, he's not coaching again.
Yeah, she said, here we go, if I can get the ads to go away. She said, apparently some of y'all feel trolled by my last story of Nick's walkout. He's not coming back to coaching. I hate to break it to you. You had your time.
I mean, look, why would he? Why would you mess with your legacy? I mean, he's arguably the greatest coach in college history. And by the way, what's he making? $8 million a year to drop S-bombs on ESPN? That's pretty good. I'm pretty jealous of that.
Hey, I've got to say this. Why would he? The eternal answer to that are people like him don't have an off switch. I mean, Nick Saban, and even though he is on air and is never, quote, never coming back, he strikes me as a guy that's always up for a battle. You know what I mean by that? Like, there's some people that just have it in their gut. I think he's wired a little different than what maybe you think. But there's also some other reasons that he may be retiring at this point that some people have speculated. And I think he's going to stay on the sideline as well. I think it's time for him.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump over to some recruiting questions. This one from Jonah Roberts. He says, good morning from Louisiana. Who do you think is the most influential recruit in this recruiting class?
Like I said before, I'm not sure that really truly exists anymore. Like, we're in a different day and age of recruiting. Influential in a different way. I think Tyler Atkinson rattled some cages.
I agree with that.
And I was there yesterday, Bobby. There's your lead in.
Yeah, he rattled your cage. He does. I mean, he rattled the cage of the entire SEC media days.
Yeah.
So much so that people talked about it for 24 hours following. I think that my question, and just to go to Tyler Atkinson for a second before we go any further, I also think Dia Bell has been quietly effective, if this makes sense, because sitting out there is the guy that Texas had a commitment from a year ago, and he's not wavered. He's been solid the entire way. I think he's been very, very influential in a different kind of capacity. Of late, Tyler Atkinson's move, Jerry, that's just a tremendous way to say he rattled their cage. It did it. I mean, it was palpable in SEC media days. Jerry, you saw him yesterday. We came live, went to you live a couple different times, saw a couple different plays. I'm going to ask you something that I didn't necessarily get to ask you yesterday because you were in the midst of it. Look, we just talked a little earlier about elite players that Texas goes after, the Anthony Hills, the Arch Mannings, the Colin Simmons, the Jonah Williams, perhaps. They're turning out to be elite players for Texas. In your opinion, after watching him, second or third time now, you've seen him in person, do you truly think he's a 5-star linebacker prospect? We've seen the film, but in person, do you think he's a 5-star?
Yeah, look, there wasn't anything really yesterday in that scrimmage. Nobody was going to run it at him. He didn't play very much in that scrimmage, but my opinion hasn't changed on him. Look, and of course, now that people that don't get him are saying, oh, he's not that good anyways. Yeah, I mean, let me tell you, somebody is going to leave high school with 600 and plus tackles is a really damn good player. I mean, anybody that doesn't think that, this is one where the eye in the sky doesn't lie to me. This guy is fast. He's physical. He's reactive. He can rush the quarterback. He can make plays on the ball. He can cover. This guy, he can play any linebacker spot there is. If anybody tries to pencil him into a singular spot, that's not the way Texas is thinking about him. They think he's such a good player that he can play anywhere because he's such a smart, intelligent, high-level IQ football player. His production, and I've compared him, and they're not the same position, but I've compared it to Cedric Benson coming out of high school in a way. You know, Bobby, you were over recruiting back then, and, you know, what was it with Benson? Did some people say, is Benson fast enough? Is he big enough? How's that going to translate? But the guys that are just unbelievably productive, there's something about those guys as players. You don't play at this level of high school football and make over 600 tackles in 4 years on varsity, which is where he's going to be when he leaves.
3 years on varsity. Oh, he's at 475.
475 right now after 3 years. So he's going to leave high school with over 600 tackles. I mean, that's unheard of. So, and just to watch him react and run and turn and open up and just close on the football. He's a heavy hitter. He's got great leadership. I'm really high on Tyler Atkinson as a player. I mean, that closing speed's ridiculous. See, you didn't see that yesterday in the scrimmage. It wasn't going to be like that. The guys had shorts and pads on there. They were hitting, but they still had shorts and pads on. It wasn't game planning. It was just, and he played maybe a third of the defensive snaps that they were out there. But I think the guy's a tremendous prospect, and he's going to be a tremendous player.
So I want to add one thing that Jerry mentioned here to the conversation. And he mentioned it, and it could go unnoticed unless you really focus on it. And that's that, is he a Mike middle linebacker? Is he a weak side linebacker? What is he? Texas views him as a player.
Yeah.
He could play Mike. He could play Will. He could rush off the edge at times. They're going to play him in some ways like they have with Anthony. He could be your spy at times, delayed rush. They're going to use him in that capacity. I can just tell you right now, he's not going to be pigeonholed into one spot. It's just too talented. Too talented.
Good stuff.
Only 93 quarterback hurries in 40 games.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. 7 tackles for loss in 40 games.
In a high level of football in Georgia, he's playing against multiple D1 players every Friday night in Georgia and Atlanta area. The talent there is no joke. It's the best in the country in a area. And I think maybe easily in DFW's second. And then you get down to Dade, Broward County's probably third. But yesterday there was a 4-team scrimmage. And I think Grayson had 25 to 35 D1 players on the field. And I say 25 to 35 because their freshman class is unbelievable. And you have to see how those guys kind of grow. But they had a freshman receiver out there that he'll be offered by everybody, right? They had a freshman linebacker that will be offered by most people. They had 2 sophomores that were on freshman team last year that are going to play in the SEC. They have so much talent. But then Alpharetta had multiple players whose dads were pro athletes. Alpharetta, Johns Creek, that's where a lot of the pro athletes live that stayed in Atlanta. They have really good players. Every school there, Dacula, had some good. There were probably, 35 to 40 D1 players on the field at that scrimmage. And Grace, there's just so much talent in Atlanta. It's scary. And he's doing it against the best. That was my point.
And Texas has commitments from the last 2 top players in the state of Georgia.
So Cotton wants to know, can he cover?
Oh, by the way, Texas offered the freshman wide receiver at Grayson an hour after that scrimmage yesterday. Make of that what you will. Yes. I think Tyler Atkinson can really cover. Yes.
Oh, man.
I didn't know that. Did he tweet that out, that offer, Jerry?
Yes.
I just didn't see it.
He's a freshman and has like 12 followers, not for long.
He has 12 followers.
He has more than that now, but I think CJ looked at that yesterday. He was like, I think he has like 9 followers or something. I'm like, not for long. that dude's really good.
Jerry Vivek B wants to know, how good is Atkinson compared to all the high school linebackers that you've seen?
So Derek Johnson remains the best I've seen prospect because there's just more guys. What Derek Johnson did at a young age was he caused so many turnovers, Bobby. It's like, it's one thing to have 28 tackles against John Tyler in a playoff game. The stats look amazing, but he was just a turnover creator like nobody I've seen. And he ran 10.6 at 205 pounds. He was a total freak show. Like, so every linebacker I see, fair or not, if they're a high-level guy compared to Derek Johnson, like any interior defensive lineman I see to this day, I say, how close to Casey Hampton are you as a motor, strength, just the willingness and the want to make every single tackle? And it's probably not fair, but you got to compare people against those guys. Bobby does it with running backs or quarterbacks, and that's just what we do. Derek Johnson's still the best I've seen come out of Texas or that Texas recruited. So I think Jordan Hicks was really, really good coming out of high school and had injury bug at Texas, ended up having a tremendous pro career. There were some other guys that developed at Texas that were really good. But Bobby, Derek Johnson's still the best I've seen that went to Texas or was recruited by Texas.
Yeah, the old head coach at Waco High was Johnny Tusa. And I remember calling him about Derek Johnson. I think the first time I talked to him was as a junior. I'd seen Waco, and Derek had like 25 tackles. And I called Coach Tusa after the game, and he just said, I think he's the best I've ever coached.
Yeah.
And in Waco High at that time, I don't know if y'all remember that, but Waco High in the mid 90s to early 2000, they were as good as any program in the state from a talent perspective.
Yeah. Before
we had these super teams like we have now at Duncanville and some other places. Derek and Cedric Benson actually came out the very same year. And Jerry, you just mentioned two guys who were elite and had elite production. Usually in recruiting, you're dealing with one of two things. You're dealing with elite production or elite talent, and they've got to work their way up. When you're dealing with both, that's when you know you have someone special. And that's why I think Tyler Atkinson is special.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
He's
not only a special athlete, he's got special production.
I'm going to challenge your brain real quick. Who's the best high school linebacker you ever saw when you were over rankings, traveling around? Who?
DJ Williams.
Yeah.
Because he was and I say that he ended up playing running back, and then moved to linebacker. But he was really, really talented. He was a little the thing with DJ Williams, and now Derek was more of a chase linebacker, like could run things down, like he ran like a gazelle. DJ Williams was more of that thumper type, if that makes sense, where if you're looking for somebody to plug a hole, that's what you want. And DJ Williams was out of Northern California, played for Concord de La Salle, ended up going to Miami.
Texas. Yeah.
Yep. He ended up being a first-round draft pick. But he was great. TJ Duckett in high school. I don't know if y'all remember him. He ended up being an NFL running back, but he was between the tackles, I think he might have been the best linebacker I saw.
Ernie Sims was really talented.
He's really good. First round pick.
Number one player in America by some people coming out.
I always thought, I will say this, whereas I always thought DJ Williams was a better linebacker than running back, I always thought Ernie Sims was actually a better running back than linebacker.
Yeah.
Sergio Kendall was.
He wasn't really a linebacker.
Like his hair. Sergio just played like his hair was on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Sergio was just a madman on the field in high school.
Somebody asked, is Atkinson better than Pettijohn, Vivek? And it has nothing to do with who's going where. I think I would put him ahead of Pettijohn. I think he's a more physical player on contact.
All right, Bobby, tell us one more time how we can escape the insurance trap with BKCW.
Yeah, you can't escape Tyler Atkinson being a top-ranked recruit. Did you or your business have a frustrating insurance or employee benefits renewal? Most likely you didn't hear from your agent all year, and then right before it was time to renew, your agent delivered the bad news of a rate increase. That's what we call the insurance trap. BKCW Business Insurance takes your business out of the insurance trap by providing you with actual risk management consulting, not just price quoting. Operating out of its headquarters in Austin and owned by a UT grad, BKCW uses a 5-step process to identify your business's weak spots, design a plan, execute it, and monitor your situation throughout the year so that you can lower your insurance costs and effectively manage your company's risk and employee benefits. BKCW has risk consultants that specialize in different industries, from construction and transportation companies, school districts, restaurant groups. You get the picture. You'll get matched up with someone who knows your business's risks and can help you escape the insurance trap. Get started with a free risk assessment at bkcw.com or send an email, info@bkcw.com, to get started and get the support you deserve. Jerry, I'm trying to think if who's the best linebacker you've seen in high school outside of Derek Johnson?
I'll tell you a hidden one that I don't think a lot of people saw was Sean Weatherspoon, and I happened to see him by chance. I've told the story before, and he went on to be a first-round pick. But I was just going down to watch Deion Beasley and Earl Thomas at West Orange Stark, and they were playing Jasper, and I knew Jasper had players, and I knew Weatherspoon was committed to Houston. But Toby Foreman was the defensive backs coach at West Orange Stark, and had a head coach in the clean area, and he did a great job with recruiting. He knew every kid, and he was like, "Have you seen Weatherspoon?" I said, "No." He said, "Just wait." He said, "You need to go to Jasper and talk to him before the game." And I did, and I thought Sean Weatherspoon was tremendous because, look, he had checked every box: student body president of Jasper High, top 10% of his class, 1,000+ SAT back when that mattered. And he never went out to camps. He never went to Texas. He never went to Oklahoma. He went to a satellite camp in Beaumont that Houston and Art Briles ran it, and he committed to Houston. And then Missouri came in late on him. But the crazy thing was, the night I watched him against West Orange Stark, and Earl Thomas went on to be a great football player. You couldn't tell what Earl Thomas was going to be that game because he played running back. He played safety and some special teams, but it wasn't the same safety you saw at Texas with him. Sean Weatherspoon was easily the best player on the field that night. And Missouri signed him late, and he went on to be a first-round pick. He was really, really, really good football player that nobody talks about because he just wasn't a national recruit.
Okay, we got another super chat this morning, fellas. This one from Isaiah. Thank you, Isaiah. He says, "Who do we flip next? My wish is Lee or Rouse." Jerry, give us your thoughts.
Somebody asked earlier, is there any movement with Malachi? I think some of this stuff, if it happens, is going to take time. Like 2-3 weeks ago, the sky was falling, and now everybody thinks everybody's going to flip a meeting. I don't think it's going to work that way. I think there's going to be, you got to get guys back on campus senior season. And I'm not saying something couldn't happen, but I think more than likely these are going to play out a little bit. Look, there's some guys that Texas will stay in on for sure. I think they're going to continue to go after Malachi Lee. They will stay in contact with Braden Rouse. They want 3 linebackers in the class. Trenton Henderson is a guy. We'll see if Texas makes a move on Jake Krull. He hasn't committed anywhere yet. We'll see if they make a push for him here late, because if they decided to make that push, then they probably wouldn't go after Trenton Henderson. I think Trenton Henderson's a tremendous, maybe a great player. They're going to stay in on some of those guys, but I think things may take a little bit of time.
I'm with Jerry on this. I think they could, if they choose to press the button on some things might change. I don't know that they've decided to press the button. They're trying to get to Sunday at this point, at the very least. Derek Cooper would put the Longhorns at 21 commitments. We'll see if something shakes loose, to Jerry's point. But looking for immediate flips after a guy just committed a month ago, that's not typical. That's not typical. So we'll see how it goes.
All right, then we have a question here this morning from, I guess, more of a comment, but Rob H. And some people were weighing in on it. Recruiting focus areas remaining. Rob says he thinks running back, offensive tackle, outside linebacker, edge, and possibly a blocking tight end. What are y'all's thoughts?
Yes. I think he's on it. Maybe safety. Don't forget about one more defensive back.
Yeah. Devon Benjamin. And
Texas will love to get Devon Benjamin.
Yeah. But we'll see if they get a chance. I agree with that list. I think that they also could take another defensive tackle if the right one popped.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's I think there's 0 to 1 at defensive tackle based on what they have right now.
All right, and we will finish with a team-related question here. And this one, if I can find it, Buster 1958 says tight end Nick Townsend, who he says is the best two-way player for his size and speed that he has seen in a long time. Can you give any update on his progress?
Yeah, doing well, getting a lot of praise. Pound for pound, one of the best athletes in the program, is kind of we talked about the day he reported to Texas that was going to be the case. Made some plays this summer, and he is a very high-level athlete. We ranked him as a 5-star last year, and I stand by that. That's a hard thing to do for a guy that's going to be a tight end. I think the guy this year is one of those two, Mark Bowman. So I think the sky's the limit for Nick Townsend. Heard he's doing really well. I don't know if you've heard anything else, Bobby.
No, I've just been told that they like both of the freshman tight ends, Emory Winston and Nick Townsend, and that could play a role into exactly how much they emphasize tight end in this recruiting class at some level. Yeah. They may need a blocking tight end. Somebody mentioned that. Whoever was the previous poster there, I think smartly mentioned a blocking tight end, inline tight end as a potential need. Because Winston and Townsend, while they can be competitive in that regard, aren't necessarily deemed like that. Before we get out of here, and we do need to get out of here this morning because Jerry's got some work to do. Nick Brooks, I was just looking at freshmen that we were talking about that we've heard really good things about. These are the ones that are top of mind for me. Jerry may add Nick Brooks, Grayson Littleton, Nick Townsend, Emory Winston, Cade Phillips, Jonah Williams, Bo Barnes, Dalen McCutcheon, KJ Lacy. So there could be more, and I'm not trying to leave anybody out. It could like Josiah Sharma, that one as well. So, we'll see.
Michael Taff also mentioned Zealous Hicks. And I heard Hicks was having a good spring, tweaked his back, missed some time. So that's interesting. James Simon got some mention from Arch Manning this summer too.
There we go. That's a good way to end this week's Coffee and Football. We'll talk about freshmen.
I'll give the chat a guess where I'm headed right now. If you guess Chick-fil-A, you're right. All right. Because I haven't had enough Chick-fil-A this week.
Oh,
the SEC Media Days was sponsored by Chick-fil-A. So, and there is a literal Chick-fil-A inside the College Football Hall of Fame.
There is 1.4 miles away. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by BKCW. I want to thank them along with Advanced Pain Care and Ridge Wallet all for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well. Bobby, what can people tune in to later today and throughout the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. So 1 o'clock live stream, Rod Baber, CJ Vogel, Jeff Howe going to be joining you guys, talking a little Longhorn sports. We've got some other stuff, football theory coming this afternoon as well. Jerry's on the road visiting some folks. We'll see if he can bring up any recruiting news for you guys on the website on ontexasfootball.com. Tomorrow morning, I'll have a Saturday conversation with Phil Steele, the author of the eponymous college football magazine that bears his name.
There you go. And Bobby mentioned on TexasFootball.com. Let me tell you, if you're not a member, you can become one very easily, and I'll save you a little money when signing up. If you use promo code OTFOG, you'll get a full year for just $39.95. That's for first-time subscribers only. Come be a part of the ever-growing community over there and get all your latest and greatest Longhorn news. Again, promo code OTFOG at OnTexasFootball.com. New subscribers only, $39.95. Well, we will be back same time, same place on Monday morning. Jerry's got something before we get out of here.
No, I think we have a little interview coming today too, potentially. So we'll see. Trying to make sure that gets set up. It's a
There
good
you
one.
With the 1 o'clock hour. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
A little tease.
Yes.
We'll see though.
All right. Well, everyone have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday morning. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.